You got to understand that this is
Good evening, everyone. Happy Sunday. I am your host, Miss TML. You are now tuned in with Real Talk with TML. I am your host, courtesy of Up North City Girls. I want to shout out to our very special guest today, Benjamen Janey. Very talented, multi-talented author, entrepreneur, CEO. We're going to get into it because we've been waiting for this interview. Hi, Ben. We may be having a delay, you guys. Ben, can you hear me?
Yeah, thanks for that. There's a small delay. So some of the response, after the question. Yeah, I can hear you. It's just we're gonna have there's gonna be a little bit of delay, I think, during this session. So but yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for the introduction. Very excited to be on, for the work that you've been doing. I see you out there making noise and interviewing upcoming talent, which I think is important for, the stories and the voices of the talented people, to have a platform like this, to be able to move it. So.
Thank you. So tell me, I want to know, who is Benjamen Janey? I just know, in regards to the work that you do, that you've been, a musical, behind the scenes force in the industry. And I know you've worked with many people. I know that you've built a brand, clothing brand, that I've seen some rappers wearing. And also artists. So I just want to know, how did you first get started? Where are you from? I know, but I want you to tell the people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's a great question, and I actually like the way you phrase that in regards to sort of being more of a behind the scenes force, in the music industry. But I got my start somewhat by chance. My mom passed away when I was very young, at the age of 21, and my brother and I actually, were musically inclined. And we have several talents, but we were musically inclined, and we used to make beats and hip hop tracks, just with equipment that we bought, and we really excelled at that, to the point where we had a 5-bedroom house in Boston. When you got 10 to 20 guys, sometimes more, would come over on the weekends and have rap battles over our beats. And so, my mom passed away, and I left school, and we had a decision to make with our lives. It was either try to go back to school and kind of, go that route, or, start something that could be inspirational to make our mother proud. So one day we were in a car, and we were listening to beats. And like I said, everyone in the neighborhood, we kind of made a name for ourselves in the neighborhood for having, really good music. And I just told my brother, I was like, hey, why don't we start a record label? And this is the early 2000s, when hip hop was at its, peak at that point in time in its trajectory. Mm-hmm. It just hit $1 billion in sales, and it was the hottest time, and one of the best times, to launch an independent record company. And that's actually how I got my start.
Wow, Ben. Now that's deep. That I have so many questions. in regards to that, because like I want you to express to people how hard it is to have a label, and
Yeah.
be independent, and just having the motivation to basically push it forward. You know what I mean? That's not easy. And I think that people pick up the record label term and say, oh, I have a record label, but they don't know what goes
Mhm.
into it in the back end. So how important is that in
Mhm.
regards to the business? And I want to say
Mhm.
that you did go back to school, because I did get an invite to a graduate party. So I know that you did go back to school
Yeah.
at some. Congratulations, by the way.
Mhm. um, yeah, fantastic question. I think well, the short answer to your question is that it's very important to try to understand the business side of the record industry, of the music industry in general. So the music
Hmm.
industry, unlike different fields, is extremely nuanced. So you have publishing, right? You have music licensing, you have record distribution, and you have
Yep.
various ways that you can be paid through those different channels. And
Hmm.
those on all the channels, uh, uh, there's jukebox, there's radio, and these are all different ways. And record companies can also be paid through music. And so we had a bit of an advantage. It's in our DNA, like the Janeys, as sort of a prominent family in Boston. A lot of my uncles, my dad, were very business oriented. So we sort of like grew up in an environment where um, we had examples, right, of what big business looked like. So I think a
That's
lot of
great.
the decision for us to come in as a company into the music business as a company versus just as artists had a lot to do with just our DNA, and what we grew up observing. Credit away last year, rest in peace, and he's one of the biggest inspirations of writing my book and continuing in the music business. To be honest, really came up with business at the time, which was based off of distribution. So what we did is we recorded local artists, majority of their own networks, and we signed them and we recorded. And at that time, record distribution really was, I would say, isolated with major labels or major distributors. Under that, we had two
Right.
main independent distributors. One was Koch Records, and the other one was Lamp Speed Records, and then it was us, Hollow
Hmm.
Records. And so we saw a gap in the market where we could record artists independently and distribute those records independently, and to other retail outlets. And so call it, just unique and different. And so that was also part of the decision of why we didn't just business.
I love that. I love that, Ben. I mean, that shows your entrepreneurship skills. And sometimes, like I tell people, it's in you. It has to come from the upbringing and the things that you're, subjected to in life, which tells you, either I'm a worker or I'm a boss. And I want to own my own. And I respect that about you. I respect that, that you took something that you believed in and you made it your own. So tell me, what can people expect in this book
Mhm.
that you've written called? Can you hear me?
Mhm.
The Making of a Hip Hop Tycoon.
Okay, great. Yeah. The book is obviously something very close to my heart. My entrepreneurial journey, starting off, just with the little relic I gave you right there, at a very early age, sort of like losing everything, and being left to face the world just with your grit and your talent. And um, each chapter in the book has different life lessons, or outlines different life lessons that I experienced through each chapter of my life. And these are
Wow.
things that, to be totally honest with you, aren't like reinventing the wheel. These are lessons that I think um, a lot of successful people have learned, but I'm as it pertains to upcoming entrepreneurs and upcoming creators. For example, years old, I had to leave Boston and go to school, finish high school in New York. And
Wow.
my dad at the time was the superintendent of the city schools there. And I literally just had to, leave rap group. I had to leave my girlfriend and go into this new environment and learn how to adapt, learn
Wow.
how to change, the ways that I might have approached situations, learn how to excel in new environments, and having those lessons at such an early age certainly has given me an advantage, as a successful adult and a successful professional. And severe other lesson when I first left Boston to come to LA and into the music business here. It talks about how to lay the groundwork and do preliminary research before you actually enter a market, making sure that you're extremely planned, getting connected before you go, who to connect with, and these seeds and jewels that I wish someone from my background when I was coming up had a book that kind of gave me the blueprint, of becoming a successful entrepreneur. And I would say the biggest takeaway, is that piece there. Mhm.
I love it. I love it. And that was my next question, is what is the biggest takeaway from this book? What do you think that people will um, embody from reading your story and your journey and just the education that you're willing to give? Because knowledge is power. And I think experience exemplifies knowledge, because the more you experience things, the more knowledgeable you are about it. So I
Mhm.
appreciate you. I, give you nothing but high regard and respect for being able to write down
Mhm.
this journey and give a blueprint to the next person that has the same mind frame as you, but just doesn't know how to go about it. So kudos to you.
Right. Yeah. It's it's inspirational. It's informative. I had a great co-author, Jennifer O'Connell, Oliver O'Connell. We had actually been working together. Um, I would say close to 7 years, prior to me approaching her. to collaborate on the making of American Hip Hop Tycoon. So obviously she's not on this call, but I want to make sure I give her a big shout out
Yes,
because I
of
couldn't
course.
have finished this project without her. And yeah, this just for upstart designers, new creatives. If you're thinking about starting a business, if you're already an entrepreneur, and you just need additional motivation, I personally find the stories of other people extremely inspiring, and you never know who you can learn from. So the target audience for the book certainly are upstart designers, people or artists that are getting started, and are looking for a reference, right, and some tidbits that they can take along the way and sort of use the book as a guide, to help them get from the different stages in their career to where they want to go. But it's certainly I've had investors that I know that read the book and were like, oh wow, yeah, this is really interesting. Not just like learning about your background, but they felt like they had some interesting takeaways from it too. Um, Another thing I wanted to talk about also is that there's also an underlying premise of the book,
Hmm.
outside of just my entrepreneurial journey and the different lessons that I've learned throughout my career. But we're also calling out the influence of hip hop culture in corporate America. And my story is sort of an example of that. Other entrepreneurs and other tycoons, if you will, in the hip hop industry, and how they've influenced mass culture in art form that we call hip hop. And
Right.
again, obviously a big piece of my DNA, down to my mom. Like my mother, in 1992 started a nonprofit organization called Young Graffiti, and the principal found some graffiti, throughout the wall at the King School, King Middle School, right there in Dorchester.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
was
Lawrence
like, hey,
Taft.
we're gonna find these kids who did this vandalism, this graffiti, and we're gonna put them in jail, right? Like
Uh-huh.
that was the principal's objective. And my mom was like, hey, wait, these kids are talented. And what she did, she said, okay, I'm gonna and we're gonna identify the tags of the artists through this art contest. And long and behold, she did a contest and she was being able to identify. Now we're gonna go bring these guys to the police. She said we're gonna start a program where we're gonna create a platform for these creators from these transitional neighborhoods, and provide opportunities for them to earn by doing graffiti arts and murals throughout Boston. And I mean,
Wow.
just a beautiful, just my mom's just a beautiful person, and she even saw, the value and the power of hip hop culture and its creativity.
Shout out to your mom for that. Because I know of the King Middle School because I had to go there once for a competition. I actually went to the Dearborn Middle School, and I used to be on the Ivy League for scholars, and we had a battle there, and it was hard. It was hard. It was like one of the hardest schools I've ever seen in Boston.
Right.
And they had
OP.
to escort us out because we won and they wanted to riot. It was crazy. And I was in middle school. So that's touching because to take that, those children that were coming from poverty, coming from abuse, coming from confusion, and give them something that they could utilize and be a platform, for to express themselves as a teacher. She fought for that, and that means a lot. So shout out to her for that. I don't know how delayed we are.
Mhm.
I think he's still listening. Ben, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Um,
Okay.
I didn't get the. I don't think I got the full question though. Okay, the last question.
Also, my next question is, what is
Can
your
you repeat that one
ultimate
one more
level of
time?
success?
Just
What is your ultimate level of success?
all right, good. Okay. Um. Wow. No, level of success. Yeah, that's a great question. And that's really hard to answer. Everyone's idea of success is different. Um, Chapter 9 actually talk about 25. For me, at 25, that meant having good credit. I already went through extreme hardships, pain, losses, by that time, and made it out, of those situations to have good credit, to be able to buy a car, with cash, being involved in real estate, from a very early age, owning and having a stock portfolio, being a business owner, being in a great relationship, already have traveled, to different countries. And at the age of 25, to me, that's what I consider success. Like that's all
Right.
that it was for me at that time. Um, you know, Fast forward, 10, 15 years, what does it mean to me now? Um, I think a lot of it is about I've had a lot of success. Like I have a net worth over well over $1 million. I have blessed and to have the opportunity now, to give back, for the younger generation and other creatives and other entrepreneurs coming up, and provide success and achievements and whatever their profession. That's like there isn't. I don't even know that if that's like quantifiable. Um, but for your time, um, I guess to me that global impact,
I like that.
to me that if I can do that, that's the next success for me.
Ben, you're freezing. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Ben, can you hear me?
I can hear you. It's just that
Okay.
same delay, but I can hear you.
You can still hear me. Okay. So tell me, how many companies are you invested in?
Mm-hmm.
Because I say invested because coming from a business background myself and just being an entrepreneur and being a innovative, an innovator and a creative person, I'm always coming up with new ideas and new, just business um, opportunities. So tell me, how many businesses currently are you vested in right now? Would you say?
Oh, that's a really good question. So it's funny. My investment strategy is like totally the opposite of my entrepreneurial um, path and trajectory, or let's say mindset. So I'm a very conservative investor. Right now, my investment portfolio consists primarily of blue chip stocks. So these are very large companies with share prices probably between $50 to $300 per share, um, which is interesting, right? Because I have tons of risk tolerance as an entrepreneur, but as an investor, I'm extremely conservative. Um, and so my biggest investment is in P&G, which is Procter and Gamble,
Yeah,
and they're a
Procter and
consumer
Gamble.
products company. There's Colgate, Johnson and Johnson,
Yep.
um, and pretty much every popular cleaning supply consumer product that you have in your kitchen or in your bathroom right now is a
That's
P&G
right.
product. And it's a time and demonstrate a very steady
Growth.
long-term growth trajectory
That's right.
versus crypto and a bit faster and higher.
Hmm.
um, I am involved in outside of my own company Spooler, which is a fashion tech company that utilizes technology to help people take control of what they wear. I probably have about 100,000 invested into that. And then there are two other companies that I'm involved with. I don't want to say too much about them right now, but one is a fitness product, and the other one is actually a music license company.
What was the last one you said?
Music licensing,
That's a good
a
one.
music licensing company that's been around for about 5 years.
Wow. See, and that's the things
Mhm.
that, again, a lot of people don't know because you're so humble. Um, just, knowing
Yeah,
from social media,
we can
and
have a separate conversation about specifically the opportunity in music licensing.
yes, I like that. So tell me, how do you feel about the music scene in Boston or New England as a whole?
um, one word, one word cut out. I heard New England as a whole. What was the first part of the question?
I said, how do you feel about Boston or New England as a whole with the music industry?
Got it. How do I feel about the music industry as a whole? Um,
In New
I
England.
think streaming platforms that are now really the number one outlet for musical content. I think that has given artists the opportunity to oh, in New England, okay. Um, man, I think New England has some of the most like talented people in all like various industries. But like just look at right. You got New Edition. You got um, New Kids on the Block. Like you have actually has come out of Boston. They haven't stayed
Aerosmith.
in Boston because there really isn't an industry there that these artists can kind of tap into.
He's getting it delayed.
I also know I just probably aged myself. Like I said New Edition and like New Kids on the Block. I know there are probably more contemporary Boston artists that have come out since then. Um, but in any event, um, no, there's a lot of talent in New England, but it just still doesn't have it doesn't have large record companies there. You know, they're the Capitol, the Def Jams, the Universal. That always has been sort of a Achilles heel, let's call it, to the New England music industry. I think put your music on the largest platform and reach the most, the largest audiences, you have to go through channels that currently exist outside of hands down. I've met some of the most talented people musically and creatively in the Boston metropolitan.
Yes, that's awesome. I want to ask you a question in regards to, I know who your sister is, Kim Janey. She was the first female elected mayor in the city of Boston.
Are you
And how does that?
saying?
I had to slip that one in. Female empowerment here. You know what I mean? I'm all about it. And to see her, get that opportunity, it was a blessing. It was like a lifetime. I was glad to see that in my lifetime. So I just want to shout out to her, and shout out to your family for being that influential in the city of Boston. And I just think that sometimes the humble don't get noticed. So I want to give you your flowers.
Some of the audio was breaking up there,
Yeah.
um, but it sounds like that was a shout out to Kim.
But I also want to know, being the brother of her, how, it has allowed you to, just see the opportunities that are put before you. You know what I mean? Like, I
And
feel like you,
if it was a,
like, how much did that motivate you more to persevere? Um, just with your businesses and things like that, her influence. How has that helped?
okay, um, I think it was how did my sister being the first female Black person mayor in Boston, and how did that influence my persistence or inspire me in any way? Was that
Yes, how did that influence and motivate you, um, in your life?
great question? Well, first off, I would like to say that we are all just extremely proud, of her And that's big time. Like being essentially, written into the history books of the United States of America. So super proud, and couldn't be happier for her. So that's number one. And then number two, has it inspired me in any way or motivated me? It's I think I would say yes. I think that I've always been a very motivated person, just in general. You see who my parents are. I talked a little bit about them, on this call.
Yep.
And our family, even before Kim, were very well known in the city of Boston.
Mm-hmm.
So in addition to Kim, I would say that having family members that have a footprint that were influential and powerful in their own right as absolute. I think in a way, like, there's got this saying about like breaking the glass ceiling. I've never really seen a ceiling because of what some of the people, who came before me had did. Anything is really possible because of some of the unique levels of success and achievements that have been attained by my family. And
Yep.
and it wasn't the first chapter in my book actually talks about that. It's called Headmaster of the Daycare. And there's a funny story that my dad used to tell me is I went to they had a daycare at Madison Park High School. And I went to my dad was like the headmaster of the high school at that time. And so on the first day of daycare, I came in, and like all the kids had to like sit in a circle and like say where your name was, right? And so the kids like, hey, my name's Michael, excited to be here. Someone's like, hey, my name's John. And allegedly, when it came to me, I was like, I'm the headmaster of the daycare. So, I think from birth, I've always just been extremely motivated person. Again, kind of in the DNA. And yes, also having a sister, who's the mayor of Boston, and parents that were successful, and having the that hasn't been peaches and cream either. I've seen the dark side of life too. I've been you know I've hit lows. I've been through a lot of hardship and have overcome those situations too. And having that resilience and um, being able to persevere, through hard, that kind of motivates. That's always been a motivator for me as well.
No, that's awesome, Ben. I have such respect and high regard to you, and I appreciate everything that you've shared with us. I want people to go out and read your book because I think it's inspirational. It's a testimony of greatness, and a person that's just persevered. Like you said, me as a media person, people only see the glitz and the glamour. They don't see the struggle. They don't see the sacrifices that are made to get where I'm at right now with this podcasting thing. And just knowing that I had a vision for New England and how I wanted to give back to my community and
Mm-hmm.
to the artists of people that I've worked with. And that's why I started this. And I, sometimes go back to why I started because that remotivates me again. And that allows me to see that, how far I've come is important. And I think that you're a success story that people need to hear. So I'm so glad to have you on this platform as an entrepreneur, as an author. And I think that, what would be your best advice to someone trying to write a book? I'm long-winded.
Great question. I would say um, organization. I'm going to say two things. One, the tangible piece of advice is organize. Okay, each organize your chapters, organize, carve out the time, create a timeline, a roadmap, um, different milestones to of the project and when you want to have those done. Find people that you can collaborate with. Doing anything by yourself it's just really makes the process extremely harder. We can use sports analogies. Michael Jordan really didn't become Michael Jordan until he started to make other people better, other players on his team better. Think about that concept and how you begin your book project. Know that it's going to take a team. It's going to take other people to move the needle and help you. It's a long, and it's a marathon. It's not a overnight thing, and you shouldn't expect that. So that's the tangible advice. The intangible advice is, you know, don't give up. If you hit, hurdles, or you come out the gate and it doesn't get the response that you want, like, just know that, it's. I guess I kind of mentioned something just a few seconds ago, but yeah, it's a marathon. Being in it for the long haul. It can take 3 to 4 years sometimes for books to really get the type of visibility they require, or that you intend. This book was pretty successful out the gate. Landing in the top 100 in entrepreneurship, and then number 11 in books about personal success. And we were organized. We had a marketing plan together. And when it was time to launch, all we did was just implement a plan. And there wasn't any second guessing. Like this was a very calculated book, and the initial traction it got was because of how calculated we were with the launch.
I love it. I love it that you understand strategy. Is the ultimate, importance of being successful, and you highlight that. Is to be strategic, is to have a plan, to set a goal. And those were some of the things that I got just from the beginning of the book. I actually started reading the book. I haven't finished yet, but I am going to finish by the end of this week.
Awesome. Was that a question at the end? That last question, if that was a question.
No, I said I'm gonna start. I'm gonna finish by the end of this week.
No,
it was just commentary. We've worked through this delay, and I appreciate your patience. I appreciate just the human being that you are.
Oh. Please do, and leave a review. Like, one thing that's so weird is, like, so many people have read the book, and it's really hard to get reviews. Like, it's the I never thought it was that difficult to get people to review. Like, it's like,
right.
You read the book and people like messaging me, "Oh, Ben, we loved your book." I'm like, but yeah, that would be fantastic. And, I just thank you, for this opportunity and picking up the book and even, taking the time, to reflect on, what you read and, again, giving me this platform today.
Well, I think that honestly, this book is going to be a highly recommended book for anybody that talks to me about getting into the music industry going forward. So this will be a book that I'll highly recommend to artists that or creators that just need that influence and that motivation and just that testimony, to know that they're not in this alone. I kind of look at it kind of like being, a great book. You know what I mean? It's one of the ones that are going to live on forever. That people will be able to pick up in 100 years and say, "I heard Benjamin's
Mm-hmm.
Janey story and I got inspired." Um, the one thing that I love about Tupac is he was a revolutionary.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that he said was, I might not change the world, but I might spark the mind of someone else who does. And I think that you're sparking minds. I think that you are a mind sparker. And I just want to give you
Mm-hmm.
that, acknowledgement and just be grateful to have people like you in my circle.
Oh, appreciate that. Appreciate that. And, well, it's been great. It was really fun, therapeutic. Also writing, and my brother passed away while I was like writing about us. You know what I mean? And it was so I dedicated the book to him, and,
Wow.
I feel like, again, he's one of the biggest inspiration. What I've learned from him, are things that give me an advantage, and, um, you know, I see him, kind of smiling down and, also being proud that his story is going to be told, through this as well. So,
Wow. Wow, that's awesome, man. Now tell me what's next for you. Because I know there's something next. You're always planning your next move. So what's next?
there, I know. So yeah, I'm really excited, about, the music licensing. It's actually an urban music library. I'm really excited about that opportunity. Um, I've actually have enrolled, to attain my executive MBA, so that's also going to be excited. That'll be that's a 2-year program, and,
Wow.
I think that's going to bring, business, acumen to a whole nother level. Perhaps it's reinforcing things I know from, our hands-on level, and reinforcing it with theory, which I think, will all enrich and enhance my business experience. So, those are two things that I have on the horizon that, I'm very excited about.
I'm looking forward to it. I just am putting your drop at the bottom of the screen. You guys can follow Benjamin Janey official. He's also on social media on Facebook by his first and last name. I think that he is a force to be reckoned with. I think that you'll be inspired, you'll be motivated, just by the things that he posts and the things that he's about. And I look forward to it. I look forward to your seeing your journey manifest and seeing what's next for you. And I appreciate you for taking the time to sit down and have this conversation with me. I want to invite you back again when we have better reception, of course. But is there any last thoughts? Anybody you want to shout out, or just anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Well, yeah, I want to give you a shout out. Thanks so much for having me on your show. it's been a long time coming. You know, I know we're both really busy people, so it's hard to get us in the same room together, and we made that happen. Oliver O'Connell, a person, a great colleague to have, and to my team, up the things in the fashion industry. So thank you again, and share this podcast. I think it went really well.
It's breaking up. I can't hear you. I'm trying to get the last part of what he said.
Did you get that last little outro?
No, no.
Oh, you didn't get my outro? Oh man. No, okay. So I basically I said I wanted Jennifer Oliver O'Connell is my co-author. I wanted to give her a shout out. I want to give a shout out to you for having me on the show. I'm really glad we were able to align our schedules and make it happen. And then my team at Spooler, Ivory Sully and Patton, and just the whole team out here. We're working on some really disruptive things and yeah, I wanted to thank you for the interview. Thank you everyone. And your next podcast. Now that I've been on, I'm gonna start following your show a lot more. Know about your media and all the great things you're doing.
Well, next time we will be in person, in studio. That will be a guarantee. Okay? We're going to do it in studio the next time you're in Boston, and we're going to do it the right way.
That would be great. That would be great.
That would be awesome. I would love to have that happen really soon. So I'm looking forward to it. Again, I'm always here. Anything you need.
Oh, yeah.
And I appreciate you so much. You got me? Can you hear me? I think we're slowing down, guys.
I heard the last thing. Said you're really excited and you're always here. Okay.
I don't know which part he's getting. He's gotta. Ben, I want to thank you for tuning in with us tonight. Again, I am your host, Miss TML, the Media Loop. Real Talk with TML, Up North City Girls. We just had Mr. Benjamen Janey on here tonight. The Making of a Hip Hop Tycoon, 100th best-selling book on Amazon. Okay, you guys, you gotta go get that book. I'm definitely gonna put some drops. Now that we have this pre-recorded, I can actually put the drops. I can put the link to buy the book. Should be in the comment section of this video when we release it live on Facebook, Instagram. We are live currently on YouTube. And thank you again. Bye, Ben.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Thanks again.
you gotta understand that this is about marketing. Like, this whole thing is about marketing. It's about your image. It's about your story. You gotta be appealing to people. A lot of artists just have MySpace and just have, you know, a couple songs and don't have a website, don't have marketing.